Hello and welcome to our first week focusing on Christmas for Awakened. When you go to church during Christmas, a lot of times what you'll hear is Matthew's story and Luke's story about Christmas conflated together into a single narrative. Now, while there's nothing inherently wrong with that, it can be very advantageous to pull those two narratives apart and to look at them separately, because the authors did have differing concerns, and looking at them separately can help us to more fully understand those Gospels and maybe even Jesus himself. Today we'll look at Luke's version of events. In Luke's narrative, we discover an angel coming to Mary and asking her if she'll carry the Holy Child. Now that's significant. She gets a choice. Maybe that has something to say to us in the United States today, especially as we're thinking about reproductive health. Mary gets a choice, and she consents. After she has said yes, she says this incredible prayer, the Magnificat, where she calls for the mighty to be cast from their thrones and the hungry to be filled. Ooh. It's no wonder that Jesus turned out the way he did after being raised by Mary. This is the version where a decree comes out from the emperor, a decree from Caesar Augustus that everyone is to return to their hometowns for a census. Now, this wasn't historical. There was no record of a census like this occurring. You wouldn't have wanted people to return to their hometowns, because the purpose of a census was to determine where people lived currently so that you could appropriately tax them. It's a literary device that helps the Holy Family get from Nazareth to Bethlehem. As they are traveling, Mary is heavily pregnant, and it's time for labor. And so they arrive in Bethlehem and need a place to stay. So what they would have done, especially since they were going to Joseph's hometown, was to stay with extended family. And so they went to, in Greek, a katalima. A katalima. Now, this has often been translated as inn in English, like a hotel, an inn, but that's not actually what it means. And actually, the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition, changes this from inn to guest room, which is what a katalima was. So in an ancient house, there would have been a first floor where the family lived along with the animals, and upstairs there would have been a katalima, a guest room. And since in the narrative, everybody's returning to their hometown, it's already been taken. There's already someone staying there. So they stay with the animals, but that is not going out to a stable as many of us picture in our mind's eye. That's a medieval invention. That's something that painters invented whenever they were reading this story. There wasn't a stable in homes in the ancient Near East. Instead, as I said, the animals lived inside with their owners. And so Mary and Joseph would have stayed on the first floor with their family and the animals. And that's where Mary gives birth to Jesus in Luke's version of events. After Jesus has been born, did you notice who comes to see him in this version? It's the shepherds. Poor, dirty, ritually impure, according to the purity laws, shepherds. This helps us to realize that Jesus' concern throughout the Gospel of Luke is going to be for those who are the most marginalized. Luke's version of events is very hopeful, actually, because in Luke's version, we get a marginalized person, Mary, unwed teen mother, who gets the choice, who gets to consent, who is the person who is lifted up as the hero of the story as she prays the Magnificat. It is the shepherds who are living outside, who have very little, who are the ones who get to witness Jesus' birth in this narrative. It's so significant that it is marginalized communities who are lifted up in the Gospel of Luke, because as you read through the Gospel of Luke, what you see is Jesus' concern for those who are marginalized, lifted up over and over again. And you see that from the very opening chapters of Luke's Gospel. One of the typical traditions in churches is to have an Advent wreath with candles surrounding it. And I like to use blue candles. Some churches use purple, but I like blue because blue is the color of hope. It's the color of the night sky just before the dawn. So right as the light is getting ready to break in, it's blue. And so I like to use blue. And often when you set up an Advent wreath, you'll use 3 blue candles, 1 pink candle, and a white candle. And so I'd encourage you throughout this season leading up to Christmas to build your own Advent wreath and to light the candles. So I've made a makeshift Advent wreath, which I will show to you. Throughout the season, we light 1 candle each week. 1 represents hope, 1 peace, 1 joy, 1 love, and of course 1 for Jesus. And just feel free to make a simple wreath and display of Advent candles as I have somewhere where you can see it. And today I invite you to think about that which you are hopeful for. What is it that you are experiencing in your life at this moment that makes you feel hopeful? Think about that which is hopeful for you as you light the first candle. And allow yourself time to sit in the hope. Let the light warm you as you feel the hope that comes from God enter into your life. This week, may you be a bit hopeful as we hope for a better world. May it be so. Amen.